Hi everybody, it's Meg from Books Off the Beaten Path. Let me take a sip of my white wine spritzer before we get started. Okay, I'm going to do another tag video. I got tagged by two people on this one, Heather Reads and Book Ramble. So Heather and Mark, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I was so excited. I mean, I love getting tagged. That's kind of my thing. Anyway, so this is about browsing and about books that you kind of unexpected books and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and leap right in. This won't be a very long video, but I'm going to go ahead and leap right in. Share a book you found while browsing that you may not have discovered otherwise. Okay, if I can find a picture of this, I'll post it. But if not, there used to be a thing here in T-Town called the Holland Hall Book Fair. And it was huge. And people would come from miles and would just load their trunks up with books and everything like that. And I would go every year. I would often take my sons, and we just had the best time going through the books and finding all these treasures and everything like that. So I found a book. Let me get it for you. I found a book, called My Love Affair with Maine at the Holland Hall Book Fair. And this is a book by Gertrude McKenzie, and never heard of her, and maybe I should have, but this was a book about two women in the 50s who buy a store, a general store in Maine. And they talk about what it's like to learn how to run a store. They survive a fire. They have to become butchers because they can't afford to hire a butcher, so they have to get the meat and butcher it themselves. It was fantastic, and I picked it up at the Holland Hall Book Fair, and no, I never would have. I mean, who doesn't love Maine? The state of Maine is gorgeous, but I found it there, and I will never forget that. Share a book that has made you view things from a different perspective or exposed you to new ideas. Okay, I got one for you here. And that is, let me find it. Exposed me to new ideas. Well, it's going to go for both tags here. This is called The Woman You Want to Be. And this was written in the 40s, and it's called The Woman You Want to Be, Marjorie Wilson's The Complete Book of Charm. And God knows I could use a little charm. But anyway, what it was like a serialized thing that it was a course that you would sign up for, and you would get a chapter in the mail every month or every week or something like that, and would talk about how to be a charming woman and how to be, I guess you would call it socially acceptable in the times and everything. But I loved it so much, and it changed my perspective of how difficult it must be for women during the war and then right after the war trying to fit into society. You know, I mean, they just started getting jobs, they just started being independent, they just started having their own money, and it's a great read. And it's actually going to be for my next tag, which has shared a book that has changed who you are as a person or altered your day-to-day habits. So this book has, not only does it have some beauty tips that I still follow, and I know what you're thinking, you didn't follow them today, but normally when I go to work, I do follow the beauty tips. But it also has like what to do if you're alone at a party and nobody's talking to you, and all sorts of things. So it's a very valuable book to me. It may not be to anyone else, but it is to me. The Woman You Want to Be, The Complete Guide to Charm. Okay, so then this other one was browse a bookstore, library, or friend's library and talk about a book you found there. Well, this one, I never really did that. I mean, I browse libraries all the time and bookstores all the time and everything like that. And if you're watching this, you probably do the same thing. But when I was working years ago at a hospital, I had a group of friends and we would go to lunch together every day. And this group of friends, there was a woman there and her name was Dixie. And she was talking about reading The Seven-Story Mountain, and how the Seven-Story Mountain was really moving her and kind of changed her life and everything like that. It's by Thomas Merton. Now, here's what I thought was super interesting about it. I went out and got this because she spoke so highly of it. I am a cradle Catholic. I'm not a Catholic anymore. I have left the church. I'm Episcopalian now, Catholic light. But at the time, I was a Catholic. And when you're a cradle Catholic, and you probably know this, you just sort of accept everything they tell you. I mean, maybe it's like that in all other religions, but I mean, they've got you in church, they've got you in mass from the time you can barely sit up. And they just sort of tell you everything you need to know. And if you don't need to know it, they're not going to tell you. But this man, Thomas Merton, was new to the faith, and he was coming into the Catholic Church, and he was learning about the Catholic Church. And I just found that fascinating. It's still one of my favorite books to this day, this man's faith journey. Later on, I think he dropped being a Catholic also and became a Buddhist. Don't quote me on that, but I think that he did. But anyway, I got this from listening to this woman wax poetic about this. And I don't want to say it changed my life, but looking outside, you know, I'm already in the religion. I'm already Catholic. And then you look outside at this guy, Thomas Merton, who's becoming Catholic, and you're like, yeah, that does sound, what we think does sound a little weird. It does sound a little weird. Now that I've grown older and I've left the church of my own accord and everything like that, I look back and I think, yeah, there were a lot of years wasted that I could have questioned some things that I didn't question. But Thomas questioned them, and he still became a Catholic. And once again, I think he moved on and became a Buddhist. And if you know that, write that in the comments. But that was a short little tag. It wasn't very long. I was thrilled about being tagged by both of those wonderful people. And as soon as I finish reading this Phyllis A. Whitney book, which is called The Window on the Square, I will do a review of that. But in the meantime, I hope everybody stays out of the heat because it's super hot here in the Central Plains. And I hope wherever you are, it's October-y and cold and beautiful leaves and spooky season. And I will check you later.